Everyone get out!
Greetings, programs! Welcome to a slice of comparatively ancient history. This is Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, a game that I think was one of the first that Firaxis put out, if not the first, after Sid Meier, Brian Reynolds and a bunch of other people left. Well, EA, basically. They left, was it Microprose? I can't remember. Whoever it was that was making Civ before that point, they left and set up their own company, and Firaxis still going strong. The reason I've dug this out is because Civilization Beyond Earth is very much on the horizon, and it is very much relevant to my interests. It's billed as being a spiritual successor to this game, and I've had a lot of fun with this game over the years. I haven't played it in a while, so I might be a bit rusty, but a lot of it will be familiar if you've ever played any of the Civ games, but it also had a few novel features that weren't in any of the other Civ games, so I thought, yeah, it's time to brush off the CDs and install it and give it a go. Now, one or two notes before I start. First off, I have got the expansion, Alien Crossfire. Couldn't get it to install, not sure why. I couldn't find any particular that other people were having massive issues getting it to run on Windows 7, so maybe the CD-ROM is a bit showing its age. I don't know, it seemed fine, it's just it won't install. The other thing is I'm using an experimental fan-made patch which aims to make the AI better, because that was always one of the weak points of SMAC, was the AI behaviour, but it has some very interesting ideas in it. It's got an interesting pedigree in that if you go and look on the Wikipedia page, you can basically find out the sci-fi whatever, the influences on this game, one of which is a book that's actually quite a favourite of mine. It's called The Jesus, or possibly The Jesus Instant, by Frank Herbert and Bill Ransom, who was I think he was a poet, I believe. But anyway, Frank Herbert didn't just write Dune, you know, did write other stuff. It's kind of a weird book in a way, but it's a very, very interesting book, and the mindworms, which are quite a big feature of the game, they're one of the native species, are very, 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 very heavily based on the nerve runners from that book. So, what is SMAC? Well, it's basically a Civ turn-based game, but on another planet, and the idea is that you've won Civ by the space race victory, you've sent off your colony ship, and you've arrived, except it's not gone quite according to plan. The captain has been assassinated, and instead of everyone splitting along national lines, they have in fact split along ideological lines. So you've got a bunch of different factions. So we'll start a new game, and I might end up just explaining a bit what I'm doing along the way, but I will try not to too much, because it's a Civ game in a lot of ways. It's fun. I think it's just the look and feel of the thing, as well as the sci-fi pedigree and the, as I've mentioned, the couple of interesting mechanics, which I will get around to. Now let's just go with a huge map of planet, because where you are, it's just called planet, so it doesn't have a name beyond that. I will, you know, I'm just going to cop out. I'm going to go with quite an easy setting, because I haven't played this in so long. I know it's a Civ game, and I play Civ games on and off, but I haven't even been playing other Civ games recently, so I've played Civ 5 a little bit in the past year. Sometimes I will go and brush off like Civ 4, even Civ 3 sometimes. I've never had Civ 2 for the PC. I had the original Civ on kind of like a bargain, you know, old software release thing on CD, like way back in the day. One of the first games I played on PC, actually. That and SimCity 2000. But I did have Civ 2 for the PlayStation. And that was interesting, because once you got to a certain stage in the game, because the PlayStation didn't have that much processing power, it would be literally 5 minutes between turns. Anyway, this is the various factions you get. You only get 7 of them. They've all got different backstories, or, well, not so much backstories as ideologies. The peacekeeping guys are trying to remain true to the original mission. They get some diplomatic bonuses. Basically, you've got a kind of a religious fundamentalist faction, you've got a survivalist faction who are quite militaristic, aggressive, you've got a capitalist faction who are one of the most interesting actually, because you get some things that hinder you early in the game, but later on in the game you get some fairly hefty economic bonuses. University of Planet, which is... they're scientists, they're science geeks, nerds. They were my favourite faction because they get some nice research bonuses, basically. Although I do like some of the SMACX factions as well. The pirates are pretty cool, more because they're, you know, pirates apart from anything else. Not quite pirates, but they're called the Nautilus Pirates, and they exclusively start off with ocean cities. One of the reasons I'm not playing SMACX is because it's a bit... apparently it was a bit lazy in terms of programming, so it's got some interesting new bits and pieces in, but what it really adds is more the story than anything else, because you also get 2 alien factions to play with. Human Hive, basically despotic, you know, dictatorship, yeah, we'll go with that. And then you've got the green faction, and I think we'll actually go with the green faction, because why not?
In the Great Commons at Gaia's Landing, we have a tall...
Oh yes, and voice acting. This is a game that came out in 1999, way before any of the other Civ games had, you know, people narrating the technology, whatever. This game had some quite nice characterization and some nice voice acting going on in it. So here we are. We've landed on planet. We've got our first landing site. The Gaian colonies look a bit... I'm not quite sure what they're meant to be. They're kind of organic looking. We start off with a scout patrol, which is a very, very basic unit. We also... the different factions have different starting technologies, and obviously the Gaians very planet oriented, so you actually start off with the ability to make terraformers. So we'll actually stick with that because they help you improve your colony site quite significantly. This should all look very familiar if you've ever played any Civ games. We'll just queue up a couple of things as well. We'll queue up another scout patrol, and then we'll queue up a colony pod. So we are... it's not a bad landing site. It kind of auto-picks landing sites for you. We've got +2 everything at the moment. It's like Civ 2 in that individual cities support individual units. From Civ 3 onwards, there was kind of a global support system, but this is of an old enough vintage. Have I mentioned it came out in 1999? I think I did. That it still is on that older mechanic, so you have to balance your forces quite carefully. And later on, you end up with the possibility of making forces that don't actually require any support. So we'll just explore around a bit.
Turn complete.
And once I have some new technologies, I can actually show you one of the features that sets this apart from really any other game, and that Beyond Earth looks like it will kind of have a bit, but not very. I read an interesting an interview on PC Gamer, basically, with the 2 lead developers, 2 lead producers, whatever job title they have. Move unit to here, and yeah, they were saying some very interesting stuff. So it does look like it's going to be a game that I will maybe not pick up. Well, it depends what the cost is, but certainly will have an interest in. So this is one of the differences. You don't pick out the technology you'd like to next research. You actually pick a research area. So I'm actually going to go for a military. You can check all of them, or you can just check, say, 2 or 3 or 1, and it will put your research points towards those areas, so you're more likely to unlock technologies from those areas. So that's interesting. If you're one of the alien factions in Alien Crossfire, you actually do get the ability to select exactly which next technology you're going to research, but for everybody else you get this system. So we're actually going to go with the military one and improve our is it
Unit max required ability.
No, F. The key bindings are slightly different in this to most other Civ games. Nutrient resources, that's quite useful. It's basically extra food for Gaia's Landing. Well, it might be, yeah, it's actually just outside the range. That's one of the things I like about Civ 5 is the fact
Match required
that
ability.
no, it's H I want, is the fact that
Turn
the
complete.
cities can have a
Production
much,
complete.
they can use resources from much further away. There is actually a way around this in SMAC. Later on, you get the ability to build crawlers, which give you, they're tied to the city that produces them, so you actually can send them out and they will pull in resources from squares that are outside the normal radius of your city. So you can actually
Turn complete.
you can build cities that have enough food to support way beyond their normal population,
complete.
but it can
Energy
take up
resource.
quite a bit of land. There we go. Oh, that's useful.
Turn
There's a whole bunch of these pods that are at the start of the game.
Production
There's actually an option that you can have where they are only around the kind of the starting base areas,
complete.
but I've left it with the default, which puts them basically everywhere. So I could put these terraformers on automatic, but I think we'll just have them be on the normal. I think I'll just control it manually. I'll actually send this guy over here, and we'll send the scout patrol back
Turn
to
complete.
link up with that colony pod so I can defend it as well. Okay. We'll send. Now I haven't met any mindworms yet, but this red stuff is xenofungus, which is a native life form that basically covers the entire planet, and you can actually see there's. You can see the. Even though you can't see what's there, you can see a grid that will tell you that, for instance, that looks like a crater, which is one of the features. So there's it's like Civ 5. There's landmarks, there's terrain landmarks that you can discover, and if you can work them, I think you get various bonuses. So there's stuff that's here that
Scientific
went
theories
into
are judged
much
by the
later games.
coherence
So here we go. This
they
is
lend
our
to
first
our
technology,
natural
applied physics.
experience and the simplicity with which
I'll just
they do
let
so.
actually no, I've talked over him
Grand
already, I
principle
suppose.
of the heavens
But you basically get these
balances the
excerpts that
razor's edge of
every single technology you get
Commissioner
that they basically read
the
out.
history of science.
And it's not necessarily. You might think this is a a military one. You'd maybe have Santiago of the Spartans would read out an excerpt of no. It can be not necessarily people you would think. So we'll go with build next. And the Morganites actually made the first. Normally it's the university that makes the first discovery. Now you might be noticing that's a bit wonky. This doesn't actually. The native resolution of this game is like 800 by 600. I actually had to do a little bit of tinkering to get it to run widescreen on my monitor. Well, full screen on my monitor. But it actually does run really nicely. It's pretty stable. It didn't take that much tweaking, to be honest. Now if I send this unit here, and that looks like not a terrible place. It's near that nutrient resource. So some of the names are a bit. Oh, there we go. I've founded the first base. Apparently, it's not very far from my first one, but it's far enough away that they're not clashing in terms of pulling out resources. I think because we're on a fairly easy difficulty setting, you start off every time you found a base. It starts off with some minerals towards a first whatever. So I could actually have them build another terraformer. Maybe I will have them. We'll basically we'll get the scout patrol, and we'll actually send a scout patrol out on we'll have it explore. So we'll cancel orders for that, and we'll have this former unit move over here. Now I'll take a quick look at the social engineering. Here we go. In Civ 5 this is the policy screen. I think in Civ 4 it was civics. So again, this is an idea that this game had, that was used in this game, that has filtered through to later games. At the moment we can't change to anything though. Some factions you basically start off with at least one that you can change to. You have also, every faction is a bit different, so we've actually got +2 efficiency, which we end up with more energy gain, -1 morale, which affects military units, so our military units start off very inexperienced, -1 police, which has an effect in terms of how good our units are at actually quelling unrest within the colonies as well. So Planting forests. Okay, we'll plant a forest. That's one thing that you can do in aid of terraforming the planet, is you can actually introduce... manufacturing supplies worth 50 credits. Very useful. So not only that, it's found nutrient resources. So I've actually got... credits are the currency in this game, by the way. So just keep exploring, keep building. Guys Landing's actually building another colony pod, which was not quite the intent, but that's fine. I could set them actually... no, that didn't work. There we go. Set them building a project afterwards, because that's a really useful early project.
We hold life to be
Recycling tanks, human genome project, and this tells you the technologies it can potentially lead to. And that would be Shaman, yeah, Shaman. What? So it looks like the university's doing best at the moment. I'm just having a quick look at. I mean, it's like all Civ games. It tells you a whole bunch of stuff about. We haven't met anyone yet, but we can see how other people are doing. Is that the one I want? No, never mind. There's the data links, which is basically like the Civilopedia, and we'll have you build colony pod. Oh no, wait, that's the queue. We don't want that on the queue. We want that on the actual production. Okay, and the other thing we haven't actually looked at, which I could have looked at once I unlocked that first technology, is the unit builder, the unit customizer. And this is the unique thing to this game that I haven't seen any other Civ game do, is you can create new units and you can customize them. And there's a fairly limited, you know, you get the different chassis types which can affect the cost. At the moment, obviously, we only have infantry. We have a new... We've got the second level of weapon unlocked, which is a laser. If you put certain bits of equipment on it, we'll actually turn it into a crawler, as I've mentioned. And there's also various armor types. There's your energy source, which affects how many turns, how many movement points you get. Although some, like rovers and hover tanks and whatever, obviously have more movement points by default, but you can end up with, once you get later technologies, you can have infantry units that have lots of movement points, which is quite nice. The main way you can actually customize those is the special ability slots, and you can have like drop troopers that come down from orbit, or you can have special police squads for quelling unrest, or you can just do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. Forest expands. The forest will grow itself naturally, but it won't grow over the xenofungus. We will... Can I not build a farm?
Invalid terraform.
Ah, because it's rocky. Okay. We'll just let that spread naturally then, and we'll just keep exploring and
project initiated.
Building outwards, more colonies. So I think we'll do a little jump ahead here. I'll found my next two cities, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully I'll meet somebody soon and we can come back in. I haven't actually tried this with the AI patch, so I don't know how AI is going to react compared to how it used to react. I shall be interested to see. So this hasn't been much of a jump at all. We've actually encountered our first native life forms, the mind worms, which I've mentioned already. They're pretty nasty. It's always better to attack, and they have a special psi attack. You get an unpleasant description of them, which may or may not come up within the frame of this video. But basically, yeah. Oh, we've actually captured them.
Turn complete.
That's unexpected. I don't remember that being a thing from the... maybe that's a Gaian ability, the fact that we're more in tune. So here we go, psi combat, mindworms versus mindworms. I'm not quite sure why we've managed to just capture mindworms. Later on, with the right technologies, you can actually breed them yourself. But the fact that we've just been able to capture them like that, that is somewhat interesting. Anyway, I'm just continuing to explore. One interesting thing to note is that mindworms, native units, can move through the xenofungus. They get a movement bonus. It's like moving through roads, basically. So
Mineral resources.
nope, more mindworms. So I probably will build a city over here in this crater because... oh! You know, never mind. We're not going to skip ahead. First contact, Lao. I haven't randomized the faction personalities, so The Peacekeepers are usually fairly amenable. We will have a chat to them. You can tell who's going to be nice and who's going to be nasty in this game, unless you've randomized the actual faction leader personalities. Which maybe I should have actually. It would have maybe made things a bit more interesting. But they're very much, you know, we're the UN and we're gonna, you know, be blah blah blah. They want to actually exchange. Yes, that is satisfactory. Information networks. Network nodes are very, very useful. Applied physics. Okay. Certain people are more willing to trade. Other people are just like, yeah. So we're on friendly terms with these guys, which is good. They are our nearest neighbours, which is very useful. Unfortunately, they have the Garland crater. Captain Garland was the captain that was assassinated. So there's some mindworms there. Can I attack those guys? No. Actually, we'll pull back that colony pod because I don't want them to be attacked. Well. Okay, they've now achieved green status. They've gone from being very green to green. Now I think you'll find they're definitely just, you know, green because I'm the Gaians and we're green. You guys, we're green. No. Anyone? I hope I'm not stuck on a little peninsula here. That would be kind of annoying. Just send this colony pod off. Mindworms everywhere. In a way though, they're quite useful. If you can get the jump on them, then they're a good way. They're basically the barbarians in this game, except not quite. They are, in their own way, so much more. Anyway, we won't get that far within the scope of these videos though, and I don't know actually if I want to make this a series or I don't know. We'll see. Right, here we go. Interlude. I might read this out. Walking alone through the corridors of Gaia's Landing, you skim the security reports on recent attacks by the horrific native mindworms, aka nerve runners. Giant swarms, or boils, of these mottled 10-centimetre nightmares have wiggled out of the fungal beds of late and now threaten to overwhelm base perimeters in several sectors. Victims are paralysed with psi-induced terror and then experience an unimaginably excruciating death as the worms burrow into the brain to implant their ravenous larvae. So, as you can see, they're perfectly charming creatures, and I don't know why anyone would have a problem with them. Only the most disciplined security squads can overcome their fear long enough to trigger the flame guns which can keep the worms at bay. Clearly you will have to tend carefully to the morale of the troops. Furthermore, since terror and surprise increase human casualties dramatically in these encounters, it will be important to strike first when mindworm boils are detected. So it's giving you some useful gameplay information there. You consider ordering some former detachments to construct sensors near vulnerable bases to aid in such detection efforts. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to... There we go. Now, I don't know if I can actually build... can I actually build sensors yet? I think I can. Sensor arrays are... they're quite nice, actually. They give you extra line of sight. You can't see it, but I might actually be able to turn it on with the options. I keep hitting ESC for the menu, but that's not the menu. That's quit. Game preferences... Advanced preferences... Let's see if I can find it. Audiovisual... There's a thing somewhere for Fog of War. There we go, show Fog of War. And this is quite useful actually. It tells you what you can directly see, and even though stuff is inside your territory, you can't necessarily see all of it. So that's where constructing sensor emplacements comes in really quite useful. So we'll build another farm there though for now. And we'll just keep exploring, I think. Now this area is unclaimed, so actually I might put my colony pod down there.
If you can discover
The university seems to be ahead at the moment. I'm not doing too badly though. Recreation Commons, that's another base facility that's very useful. Ooh, monoliths! This is another thing. Mysterious monoliths, if you find them, if you put a unit on them and investigate it, your units gain a level of veterancy and they also get healed up, so sometimes finding a monolith can be really useful, especially if you've got a very highly elated unit and it's very hard to get it to that final level of veterancy, and then you find a monolith and it's like, woohoo! And you can do it over and over, but you can only do it once per unit, basically.
Production complete.
So it's basically a free level of veterancy, which is always nice.
Pod recovered.
Oh, the pod is malfunctions and unleashed another quick. Yeah, that can happen. And you can actually use your terraformers later on to raise and lower terrain as well, which is a good way of basically trolling people, because you can have you can like change the terrain near an enemy if you're not getting along with the faction. So I think we'll probably do a network node afterwards. Drones are... It's a bit unflattering, but drones basically are your population. So if you've got unhappy drones, these guys here, if you have... you can nerve staple them, which sounds horrific, but you can basically like lobotomize them, and it's considered... Other factions won't like you very much. It's considered to be a very nasty thing to do. But if you're having real problems, it's an option. Okay.
Turn complete.
We'll settle this one near the border. And I think I want these guys over here to be on the coast. I'll actually send this unit of mindworms back there for now, because they can actually temporarily guard that city. Now this is terribly old school. I'm having to use the... Well, not having to use it, but I'm using the number pad to move things around, which... I haven't had to do this in a game for a while. There we go, Song of Planet, which is push the borders back a bit. Actually, they can build a scout patrol themselves in one turn.
Complete.
We won't build any offensive units for now. In fact, we'll just change that for the network node, and then we can... There is one slightly derpy thing in that even if you change, you know, to whatever it is that's on the queue, it won't actually take it off the queue. But this game's still pretty good. I mean, I actually think it holds up quite well, all things considered. So we'll just keep... We'll actually send that guy sort of a bit north and explore a bit. That seems not a terrible place, so we'll
Unit max required
hold
ability.
there. Found another city. And we'll actually change right away to a network node. Recycling tanks are quite useful as well. They boost the resources that you can get from your... But network nodes, I tend to build those first, or have tended to in the past, because you get that early research boost. So I think we'll actually wrap up this video here. I've been going for what, 25, 28 minutes? Let me know if you want more of this. I don't know if I'll make it into a... I don't know, I might do it as a series in the same way I've been doing CK2, and I've been trying to not... I keep thinking I'll do a CK2 video and then other stuff comes up. But I could do this on that kind of order of, you know, every so often I'll put out a video and we'll see how things are getting along on Planet. But I suspect once Beyond Earth itself comes out, or once I get Beyond Earth anyway, I might not get it immediately upon release depending on the price. But once that comes out, I'll probably do some videos on that as well, because that could be really good. It could be terrible, but it could be really good. So, leave any comments below if there's anything you'd like to see me do particularly. I don't know. But if you would like to see more of that, then I suppose you can say that in the comments. You can hit the like button, you can check out my other videos, you can subscribe to my channel, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more. Oh, and I nearly forgot the best thing about this game, you guys, the best thing.
Please don't go. The drones need you. They look up to you.
Oh man, I just love it so much.